to start the second day of the consultation. It's always nice to step away, come back the next day. You'll have fresh ideas, things you thought about yesterday at the end of the day that you wished you had had a chance to discuss, or you were thinking about some of the presentations and that generated some thoughts and ideas. So we're back again today with a chance to explore some of the topics that might not have had sufficient time. I know in the breakout rooms, it was difficult to come back to plenary because there was still a lot of discussion happening and issues that were being raised. So we can continue with some of those discussions today. Really rich discussions and interesting ideas raised, both in terms of challenges that are specific to the region or that are shared with other regions. Having come from some of the other regional consultations, there are some cross-cutting issues that are emerging in many of the discussions. But also nice to hear some of the ideas about how to move forward, how to bring different actors together for better collaboration and really harness support for some of the innovations that show a lot of potential for addressing the SDGs. I mean, there were so many different topics raised, and you know, in terms of youth unemployment, for example, appeared to be something that was a challenge in the region. The quality of education, how to manage waste and access to clean water, and in terms of reaching out to all types of different sectors, issues of inclusion, and how to localize actions so that they can really be picked up by communities and engagement can take place at all levels. So many innovations that were presented. The presentations on what the private sector is doing were so interesting. And this is a group that's so instrumental to really bringing about transformative change in terms of achieving the SDGs. So it's really nice to hear from those in the private sector and to hear what they're doing and some of the innovations that are coming out. Gender equality and opportunities for women, that was an issue that came out very clearly in the discussions. And what started to become very clear, even in the working groups where you stepped away and focused on human well-being, on energy, access and decarbonization, and on the global environmental commons, was how interlinked even these areas are in terms of investing in capabilities through education and what that can mean for tackling climate change, in terms of how energy access is managed and what that means for the global environmental commons. So today we're all back together, and each of you was taking part in a conversation within a particular group, but now we have a chance to hear maybe what some others were talking about. We did a little bit of that with the reporting back at the end of the day, but it's nice to start now when we're all fresh and look at some of these ideas. So the first activity on the agenda today is something called a fishbowl. And I know that's kind of a strange concept. How many of you have heard of a fishbowl or taken part in a fishbowl before? So a couple of people. And what this means, we're going to make use of these chairs again and give all of you a chance to really take part in the discussion. It's very open, and I'm going to step back and just sit down. We're going to have a couple of people up in the front to kick off the fishbowl. But the idea is you can share ideas that you were thinking about yesterday in terms of really ideas that show potential for how to tackle some of the big challenges in the region in terms of innovations, research, activities that you're working on in your day-to-day work. One thing that we didn't address in terms of in a systematic way yesterday is the concept of leaving no one behind. So maybe there were ideas that came up yesterday, but thinking about how to implement change in a way that really leaves no one behind and ensures that everyone benefits from the SDGs would be something that the IGS members would be very interested in including in the report. So thoughts about how to approach the SDGs and leave no one behind would be very interesting. We're going to kick off with a few people who've already agreed to start the fishbowl. And the way it works is if you can sit here for as long as you would like, and you can have discussions and dialogue with the others who are sitting in the chairs. And then when you feel like you are done and you wanted to give up the seat for somebody else to come forward, you can just return to your seat, and then that seat is open and someone else can come forward. The focus, again, is fairly open, but it's a chance to raise ideas, to respond to something that somebody else raises when they're here. And we'll be in listening mode, really gathering some of your ideas and trying to see how those can help to inform the report. I know once it starts to work, then it'll be a little more clear. But just to start, are there any questions exactly about how this would go? Okay. So we have Jaime Montoya, one of the IGS members, who's going to take part and help kick this off. And then our colleague Lud from UNEP has kindly agreed to take a seat. And then I think Jessica may be here. I was told that she might be able to participate and have some ideas to contribute building on yesterday. And then our colleague up here from the Human Wellbeing Group has kindly agreed. And I believe that leaves one other seat. So if somebody else wants to jump in and take a seat, then please, by all means, do so. And we'll just start a dialogue. And again, please feel free to rotate through. Don't be shy, because this is a chance for everyone to kind of carry on the conversations from yesterday and look at many of the issues that are on the table. It can be outside of these 3 entry points as well. There were many things raised in terms of food systems, another entry point, urban areas, smart cities were discussed, and many other topics. So please go ahead. I think we have some microphones here so we can distribute these around. Please.
Yeah, the fishbowl panel gives an opportunity for everyone to be able to talk to the whole group about his or her thoughts on issues maybe, or how the GSDR will proceed, or any specific issue that you may want to raise again or have not raised yesterday. And you can also go to possible actions that can be taken to address this. I think the coverage is very broad because, as you probably would understand, the 17 SDGs basically cover everything about society concerns and national concerns and regional concerns. So, good.
Okay, thank you. This is working. So yes, it says, you know, in the agenda, the fishbowl is about a discussion on what was missing from the working groups. I think we had very good discussions in the 3 working groups, and they were looking at solutions, actions, what needs to happen to deal with the many problems that we are facing, whether it's in the 3 dimensions, the social, the economic, whether it's poverty, whether it's environment, etc. And I would like to go back to 1992, where we had the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development. And one of the principles, Principle 15, states where there are threats of serious or irreversible damage, lack of full scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing cost-effective measures to prevent environmental degradation. And so definitions of the precautionary principle can be found in many MEAs. You even find it in the Maastricht Treaty about the EU. But you also find it, for example, in domestic laws, for example, in the US and in Europe. And so there's two ways to look at it. You can't use lack of full scientific certainty as an argument to say, well, it's not time to do anything yet. Or you can be maybe a bit more prescriptive and say, well, we should do more about understanding what the problems are. And so lack of full scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing any action. So the idea then is that if an activity raises a threat to the environment, whether it's on human health, even if the cause and effect relationships are not fully established scientifically, precautionary measures should be taken. And now I want, to just give you one personal experience. Last summer, when I came home in Belgium, I was looking through my mail, and I found a flyer, and the flyer said, well, we advise you from the municipality, we advise you not to eat vegetables or eat eggs of your chickens because of PFAS. You know these forever chemicals. And that's because like 30 years ago, there was a big fire in a small factory in the neighborhood. And to eliminate the fire, they used extinguishers, and that caused this PFAS, which after 30 years now, I can't eat vegetables from my garden. Now, if we look at, for example, pharmaceuticals, you may all remember what happened with this medication in the 50s. I think it was Talit, something like that, which caused severe deformation in babies. Yeah, thalidomide. So, and based on that, a very rigorous system is now in place for pharmaceuticals. We're all aware of it because of COVID and the time it took and the procedures all these vaccines had to go through before they could be put on the market. And so my question is, many of the problems look at ozone depleting substances. We have climate change, we have pesticides, etc. Many chemicals come on the market and there is no procedure to really look at the risk they pose. So my question, to the group is, considering how many of the problems we face are due to chemicals, and new chemicals keep coming on the market, and just this one group, the PFAS, we have like 9,000 different, and they're everywhere in our life.